What's up, everybody? I'm going to continue with part 2 of the law of love. I know it kind of cut off abruptly there on you, but we're just going to keep digging into this thing. We're going to keep rolling. I hope you got your Holy Ghost swag turned all the way up. Let's keep going. Let's do it. So the last thing I said is that there's some of us out there that we don't like people just because. I mean, it doesn't matter what they do or what they don't do. We just don't like them. Now, if you're a believer and this is you, then you got a serious issue of the heart. And you really need to check yourself, because that is not the heart of God. That is not how He is teaching us to love. That's not how He wants us to love one another. Now, for me personally, I'm going to give you an example. I like steak. I like steak a lot. But there has been times in my life when I have eaten so much steak that I looked at the next bite and said, I hate you. Because I had eaten so much that I was done with that steak. Now, I didn't throw steak out altogether. I didn't say I've eaten this and I'm disgusted with this, so I'm not going to eat steak anymore the rest of my life. That is not what I said. Why? Because I love it. I love steak. Now, same thing for my brother, for my neighbor. Just because you do something that I don't like, just because I'm full of you and I can't take any more, I can't eat any more of you, doesn't mean that I throw you out altogether. It doesn't mean that I just get rid of you and say I'm done with you for the rest of my life. Why? Because I love God. And because I love God, I love you. Regardless of what you do to me, I still love you because I love God. And this is what we got to understand, is that love is. Love is. And the greatest thing you can do for your neighbor, the greatest thing you can do for your family, for your friends, is to love God more. Because when you love God more, they reap the benefit of it. So the best thing you can do for your friends is to love God more. Now, the Bible in Exodus 20, it set up the 10 Commandments to the children of Israel. The 10 Commandments were given to them because they didn't know how to love. They did not know how to love God. They didn't know how to love each other. So God gave them the 10 Commandments. Now, the first 5 commandments have to do with your relationship with God. Next 5 commandments have to do with your relationship with people. Love God, love people. It was set up even in the Old Testament. So God's like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to love me. Here's how you can love me. Don't create any graven images and worship those. Don't worship any God before me. He's saying these are ways you can love me. Now, in the next 5, your relationship with people, he says, you want to know how to love your brother more? Hey, don't steal from them. You want to know how to love them better? Don't kill them. So he gives these commandments to teach them how to love. Now, also in the Old Testament, the law was set up to expose sin. It was set up to expose how short we really come when it comes to us reaching God. And so that's what the law did. It exposed our shortcomings. Now, we tried to close this gap. It was a huge gap. It was a gulf between us and God. And we tried to close it. I'm thinking of an example, the Tower of Babel, how these people literally constructed this tower to try to get to God. They actually constructed something to try to get to heaven, to try to get to God. And God's like, that's not going to work. So he struck it down. I also think of when it comes to sacrifices in the Old Testament. We tried our best to close the gap of sin's weight, of the penalty of sin. We tried our best to close it with sacrifices. I mean, we would kill goats and rams and sheep and bulls and spill their blood and try to atone for our sin, but that atonement would only last for so long. That blood only had so much power. It was weak. And so God himself said, look, I'm going to send something that's going to close that gap. I'm going to wrap myself up in human form through my son Jesus. I'm going to go through 42 generations. I'm going to come walk this earth, show you how to love. And then I'm going to die on the cross for your sin and close that gap once and for all. Now, while Jesus was here, he did some pretty cool things. He also did some stuff to make a lot of people really mad, especially the religious leaders. Now, in Matthew 5, his Sermon on the Mount, he said some things that really struck them in their heart. Jesus approached the heart. He always does. And he said that, okay, you guys are saying that you shouldn't murder, but I say if you look at your brother in a hateful way, you've already committed murder in your heart. If you look at a woman or a man lustfully, you've already committed adultery inside your heart. And in verse 43, it says that you guys say that you should love your neighbor and hate your enemy, but I say love your enemy even though they spitefully use you. Love them just as much as you love your neighbor. And then Jesus, he ushers in this new law of mercy, this new law of grace. and this is how Jesus wanted us to live. Keep watching. I'm coming back with part 3.